Now, when we look at how we perceive things, how we organize bits and pieces of information, one of the principles that we can actually study is Gestalt Law of Organization, set forth in early 1990s by a group of German psychologists who studied patterns, or like in German we say gestalts. They discovered a number of important principles that are valid for visual stimuli. Now, when we look at Gestalt law of organization, it is actually applied to the information that we get from our eyes. We can also, apply it to auditory stimuli, but usually it is applied to visual stimuli. So, before we go into that, let us look at this picture. Now, when you're looking at this picture, you will see some black dots as though someone has scattered ink on the paper, or looks like X-ray image. But as you're looking at those random dots, among that dots, slowly a picture of a dog emerges out. If you can see the dog sniffing something on the ground, a white dog with black spots, maybe a Dalmatians. And slowly you are seeing some clusters of dots coming together and making an image. Now, how this is happening? Now, Gestalt law of organization tries to explain this phenomena, try to explain how we perceive things in our environment. So let us look at the four principles of Gestalt law of organization. The first one, closure. Groupings are usually made in terms of enclosed or complete figures rather than open one. If you look at this picture, you would have very clearly recognized the triangle that is there in the middle. We may not see usually, three pizza with one piece missing, but we will try to combine and we will see, a triangle there even though there is no triangle. We tend to ignore breaks and concentration on overall form. Now that's closure. The next one is proximity. Elements that are close together are grouped together. For example, if you see, you know, dotted line there, instead of seeing a line with single dots, we are actually pairing it into pairs of dots. Because what is close together, we tend to group together. And that is what is called as principle of proximity. Now the next one is similarity. Elements that are similar in appearance are grouped together. Now if you look at the example, we may not see a triangle, circle, then triangle, circle, then triangle, but we are seeing a line of triangles, line of circle, and we are seeing, in similar, which look similar in appearance, we tend to group together. The fourth principle is simplicity. When we observe a pattern, we perceive it in the most basic and straightforward manner. When you look at this picture, you are looking at a square and there are two lines which is on both the sides. You may not see it as 2k, 1k and one opposite k facing each other. So when we look at things, we try to give simple interpretation in a very straightforward manner than to think it in a very complex way. Now these are the four principles of Gestalt law of organization as we saw before. The first one is, closure, is closure. The second one is proximity. The third one is similarity. And the fourth one is simplicity. There is another principle of Gestalt which is very important. For example, look at this picture. This picture looks very normal, you know, picture of dry leaves. But suddenly you may see it is not dry leaves, but there is something sitting on that dry leaves. It has a tail, it has legs, it has head. It's actually a very rare type of chameleon that is found in Amazon forest. Now, how are able to actually see and identify this species, this very rare species? What is happening is something called as common fate. For example, you may see here, many circles, different, same type of circle. But suddenly you will see that among those circles, there is some clusters of circle which is moving together. And as soon as you see a cluster of circle, you will be able to identify it, and you will be able to see how different it is from other circles. Now this is called as common fate, and that's why we are able to, see the species, in middle of it. If it doesn't move, we will not be able to recognize it. But as soon as it starts moving, we will be able to recognize that this is a species, and not just dry leaf. So this is called as the principle of common fate.